that have really, tech, love it. I'm going to focus on 4 key pillars that have really helped me. So as a personal trainer, or if you're running your own business, or just individually, I've been doing this for 11 years, and it's been a roller coaster journey, as they say, ups and downs, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But these 4 things have sort of really helped me with what I'm doing. So I'm going to run through a presentation for about 35 minutes. At the end, any questions, throw them out there. The goal for me is if you get one thing out of today, that's it. I'm not looking for miracles. I'm not looking for, your life to turn around in one hit, but, hopefully you can take something away from it. So I'm going to share the screen and I'm going to get the presentation up. And if there's any questions along the way, fill up the chat box there, and then we can answer those at the end. So I'll share that. Okay, I'll share this screen. Hopefully that's come up, and it will do the view. I've done these a fair bit, but I still hate the tech aspect of it all. But here we go. Okay, so personal and professional gold digger. A little bit of a wank heading, but look, it is what it is. So in terms of my background, I started a business called My Goals back in 2010. So like I said, it's been 11 years now. Up until next month, it's going to be 11 years I've been in the business. And I've gone through, every single part of it, running it as a passion project in the beginning, looking to create a product because there was nothing out in the market, and then running it into a side hustle and then a full-time gig, probably 5 years back. And the whole premise was to create a set of tools that will help me set my own personal goals and help me keep track of them. I always go back to really where it started. And for me, it would be probably an interesting exercise for you guys to work out where your journey really began. And my journey, though it seems to have begun when I was 26, it really started when I was 16 years old. So as you'll see there, the presentation, me on the left-hand side, my goal growing up was to be a professional soccer player. So I was fortunate to play for a club called the Melbourne Knights. So that was the ex-National League. Vice captain in the youth team, trained with the seniors, but never made it to that elite level, but I was close. At the same time, I also started to read about successful individuals, biographies about entrepreneurs, athletes, and there was this common denominator where they'll talk about goal setting. My goal is, my goal was. So, and then the last bit, sorry. And the last bit was the creative aspect. So at the same time, when I started reading these biographies, I started writing my goals. And I remember all my goals in the beginning were to become a professional soccer player, play for the Joeys, play for Australia, play for Melbourne Knights seniors. So literally when I looked back 10 years, it took me to start a business based off these key things. So in your own journeys, have a look back and see what the dots are, connect those dots and see where it all began. And then essentially, so 16 years old, I don't make it as a soccer player. I go to university, I sort of give up on my first dream. And then I go through a stage in my life where I went through the paces. From 2003 to 2009, I basically listened to everyone around me, my parents, my peers, and got a job in the corporate world. I went to university, then I started working, selling photocopiers, business development, management here and there. But unfortunately, I was really unhappy. So I was listening to all these people around me telling me to do, play it safe, save some money, get a mortgage, do all these things. But at the same time, I was really not depressed, but I was super angry about where I was heading in life. I had all these dreams, all these aspirations, and I wasn't doing anything about it. So it took me quite some time. There was this, stage where I just listened to everyone around me until basically 2010, where I had my fuck it year. I call it the fuck it year because it was quite a year in terms of where I literally jumped off the ledge. I took the leap of faith. That year I got married. I got a mortgage. I started My Goals, and we found out we're having a child probably 12 months down the track. So that year was a year that I had to grow up really quickly. And in hindsight, I wish, I tell people, I wish I started the business, or I wish I started with my ideas earlier. So, 2010 was a big year. 26, got all these responsibilities, but I go out there and start my dream job or dream journey. And the journey itself has been, it's been an organic, it's been a journeyman journey. Often we hear about businesses where they blow up in 24 months or, a year, they do it tough for 6 months, and then all of a sudden, they're they're making $10 million. For me, it's been quite the contrary. It's been a journey of belief. Top left-hand corner was the first prototype that we created, or that I created. And then, that's essentially where it started. I remember the first year I sold 800 of these diaries, and I was super ecstatic. I went to a few bookstores here in Melbourne, and just sort of was just praying that they'll like the idea. I had very limiting self-belief in the beginning, and I was just like, hopefully they can, take this book on board. And they did. And then from that year, the momentum started to build. Top right was the first office that we had, me and my business partner, ex-business partner. And that was an exciting part of the journey where you start taking those next steps and you get your first office and you think, fantastic, the goals are starting to come through fruition. Bottom left was when I got featured in the Forbes article. And again, this was just, cementing that belief in myself that, I can actually do it. So I think for anyone that's wanting to do their own business, it's about having that self-belief and building up these momentum so you can get that self-belief. Bottom right was when I was on the Today Show. So that was something super, super exciting. I remember getting the phone call the night before. We were packing orders that night, and I get a phone call from a Channel 9 producer. And I'm like, who's this? And then they go, from Channel 9, do you want to come on and do a goal setting segment? And I've never been on TV. Had no experience really in the media. And I said, yeah, okay, yeah, love to. And then I asked them, when is it? And they said, it's tomorrow morning. So obviously someone pulled out the last minute, and they found my number somewhere. And I went to Channel 9 studios in Docklands, and I was absolutely shitting myself that morning. But again, it was, the journey itself. I remember getting onto the TV set and thinking, what, if I can do this, I can continue on this journey. And right now, 2021, we've gone from 800 products per year. We're printing about 150,000 products. We've got our products sold throughout 600 plus locations around the globe. And we continuing to grow the business and empower people to sort of take control of their lives, set goals, and do something positive with their lives. Especially with COVID now, I think we're all realizing that, sitting around waiting and hoping for the best, it's not a good strategy. So you really got to get out there and take, control essentially. And that's been my big lesson. It's like, if it is to be, it is up to me. So essentially today, that's been my journey. It's, it's been a long journey. It's a lot of roller coaster, a lot of stages. And I've learned to embrace all the stages, from starting in the garage, from starting, the first office, all these different stages I've really enjoyed. But essentially there's been probably 4 key things that I've centered my life around as a result of running the business, having a family. And these are the 4 key pillars that really keep me on track. So, these 4 key pillars, really simple and they're really cliche, but if I have these things in order, if I work on these key areas, then I tend to have, basically live my best life. So there's, key pillar 1 is self-awareness. Pillar 2 is strategy, action, number 3, and 4 is fulfillment. And probably the 4th pillar is something that we always tend to forget about. We go on this journey trying to achieve all these goals and get ahead and do these amazing things with our life. Whereas sometimes we just forget to actually enjoy the journey, or we forget to have a sense of fulfillment and joy. And we get to a point where we're hitting these goals and it's just like, what for? I'm not feeling anything. So I think it's really important to bring all these 4 together, whether it be with clients, whether it be for yourself, or whatever it may be. If you guys can work off these 4 key areas, then you're improving your odds of, living a happy and fulfilled life. And that's the most important thing for me. So number 1, part 1 is self-awareness. And for me, self-awareness is the key to self-mastery. If you don't understand yourself, if you don't understand what triggers you, if you don't understand your values, your purpose, your definition of success, you're simply just going with the flow. And that's okay for some people. But for me, having that understanding of who I am, how I react, has been, the ultimate thing. So for me, there's 3 parts of self-awareness, 3 key parts, and there's obviously more, but the 3 key parts I want to go through are values, purpose, and success. So number 1 is values. And these are the things that you've probably heard, you've gone through with your clients, you've gone through yourself. But I think it's really important to always check in with yourself and go through these exercises multiple times per year. Sometimes we forget and we go back through, go back to our comfort zone, we go back to our default mode. And for most of us, default mode is comfort zone. And that means probably not going outside our comfort zone and doing the things that we should be doing. So for me, I go through this exercise and I just sort of check in with myself to see my values are in line with what I'm doing. I did the exercise a few weeks back, and again, they're quite they're quite on trend in terms of, they're quite, similar to what I've done in the past. And for me, it's about family, it's about growth, it's about entrepreneurship, it's about health. And knowing these things personally, it helps me make better decisions. So in your own time, I'm going to share this slide deck with everyone after. So go through the exercise of just reconnecting with what your values are, what your core values are. Because once we understand these core things, then we can actually set better goals. Far too often, too many people just think about goal setting. They set goals that don't actually matter to them. They set goals that aren't in line with their values. They set goals for the sake of setting goals, basically. Part 2 is purpose. So what is your purpose? And it's a big question and something that we sometimes get scared to ask ourselves. But for me, purpose can be multiple things. I run a business, I have a young family. So for me, my purpose is to be the best possible dad I can be to my kids. And that, just by knowing that, helps me make better decisions. When I get home from the office, I make sure that, I check emails one last time, then I switch off, coming to the house, and I'm actually present with my kids. The other purpose is to represent possibility. I want to educate or want to show people that, for someone who was quite anxious, had limiting belief, grew up in a household where, the way out was basically, just stick, play it safe, don't do anything that's out of the ordinary. That if I can actually go out there and start something, then anyone else can do that. It just takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of self-belief, a lot of back and forth, but we can all do that. And for me, like an exercise that we all should consider is, finding your purpose. It's not a first date thing. It's more often than not a reunion. So looking back in your life and finding out times when you felt most happiest, most fulfilled, finding out what you were doing, who you were with. These are the things, these are the clues that can somehow, bring out what your purpose should be in specific parts of your life. If you felt most alive when you were training a client, okay, you're in the right profession. That's fantastic. If you felt like, your kids are your everything, that's another purpose. So just reconnect with what your purpose is, because this is going to help you, again, set better goals. Another one part that I want you to consider is success. And for me, this has been, super critical. Running a business, starting a business, sometimes we get caught up in everyone else's journey and what their success is. There's been multiple times where I've started and been going throughout this journey where I've looked at others and said, oh, look how far they've come in such a short time. Why aren't I doing that? We're a failure. Why can't we do that? But over the time and as of late, I've really defined, success as something different to when I started. So I've really gone through this question multiple times per year when I feel down or when I feel I'm off track. So what is your definition of success as a person, as a business? Really get clear on that, because again, it's got to help you when you get off track. Right now, you're going to be thinking, oh, this other personal trainer or this business is doing that. I should be doing that. It's like, no, but what is your definition of success? And one of the things that I've realized along the journey is if you want to get to the top, there's a lot of sacrifice to be made. And you've got to be willing to make that sacrifice, or ask yourself, are you willing to make it? The journey myself with my goals, I've questions like, do I want to be working 24/7, 7 days a week? Miss out on seeing my kids grow up, miss out on, having a life. And to some extent, it's not that important to me. The money, obviously making a good living is important, but it's not the be all and end all. And I've got a saying that I always go back to, and it's to love what you do, feel that it matters, and make a living from it. That's the ultimate. So if you're in a position where you love what you do, you're helping others and you're making a good living from it, that's tick, tick, tick. So if you guys are in a position like that, that's then you're winning. So as a little bit of an exercise, I know we don't have too much time. So consider those 3 parts: values, purpose, and success. Define those things, question those things multiple times per year, because I know from personal experience, you're going to get off track. So if you keep going back to these things and asking yourself, why am I feeling like this? What am I doing? Why am I here? It's got to help you stay in that present moment. Okay. And the computer's just literally frozen up. That's crazy. Is it still? Sorry, guys, the computer's literally just frozen. This is why I hate tech. Okay, that's weird. It's never happened. Even nothing's working. In terms of the next part, look, I'll go through the next part off the top of my head. And the next part is about strategy. So obviously for me, it's about developing a good core or a good foundation. Understanding what your, these key principles are is super important in developing that foundation. And then it's about strategy. Then it's about actually setting some goals. So the second part is to based off what you've learned about yourself, to start picking goals that actually matter to you. So for me, it's critical to go through that first stage and then actually work on goals that are going to, mean something. Far too often we're, setting goals that, for the sake of setting goals, which don't really help us in the long run. So the next part is to really take time to reverse engineer your goals. And with goal setting, for me, it's about, the initial part is to dream a little bit. I don't think we dream enough as individuals, as business owners. So the first part is to create a compelling vision for yourself. And what that means is just to take time. There's no rules, there's no right or wrongs, but just to consider what the future looks like. The next 5, 10 years, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Where do you see yourself? Who are you with? What are you doing? How are you feeling? So I think that's, the starting point of setting good goals. And then from that point, we can work out the short term, which is basically what do I need to do on a day-to-day basis to get to that goal or that ultimate vision that I've set for myself. And that's literally the way I've been working. So I've had this process of long-term vision, short-term focus, having that compelling long-term vision and then working backwards and basing some goals out of that. Keeping it as simple as possible for yourself. Otherwise, we get caught in the trap of thinking, what's the formula? How does this work? I think we all know how to set goals. I think it's just about going back to basics. Even for clients, it's about understanding that goal setting is just a tool. So remember, goal setting is just a tool to help you, give you direction, clarity, and focus in your life. Just because you set goals, it doesn't mean that you're going to ultimately achieve them. And that's the approach that I've taken from day one. But for me, it's about the progress that I make along the way in the journey. So you've done that. You've had a visual representation. You've developed this, this compelling vision. You're excited about where you're heading. And then we're sort of picking 3 to 4 goals based off that. For me, it's about, having enough there, having enough on your plate, that it's exciting, that we can work on something every single day. And usually those 3 to 4 parts revolve around, your career, your business, your health and fitness, your relationships, and then potentially it could be a spirituality, or it could be, adventure, specific projects or whatever it may be. But picking these key areas in your life that you really want to work on and basing some goals on those areas. And what you find with your goals is if you do it well, there'll be a consistent thing with them. Basically, every year will be sort of the same goal, but you're just building on it. You're just growing. From a business level, there's obviously all these, minor goals that we're working towards, all these smaller key milestones that we're working on, but the big picture remains the same. How can we empower millions of people around the world to live their best life? So I don't know why I'm still trying to get this. No, it's still not going. Sorry about that. Literally the computer is not doing anything. I think it's important. All right, so in terms of, from a goal setting perspective, I've got a couple of key tips to sort of keep you guys on track. And for me, the key tips are to do something that you're passionate about. Set goals that you actually want to set, that you're passionate about. And I use the 80-20 principle. Basically, 80% of the goals that I set, I'm excited about. And I realize at the same time that there's got to be a small chunk of goals that I might not be terribly excited about, whether it be finances or general life skills, but they're important. So going in with the approach of, the majority of the goals I'm going to set, I'm super pumped about, but there's got to be a small part that I just need to get done or I need to get better at. So that's been a huge critical part for me. Obviously, writing down your goals, putting pen to paper, actually having them visible. I remember always going back to a stat that says the human brain has anywhere between 50 and 60,000 thoughts per day. So on average. So for me, just by knowing that, I realized that if I've just got my goals in my head, I've got a lot of other stuff there as well. So actually taking time to write my goals out, multiple times per year. Again, checking in with myself and going, okay, where am I at with that? So you'll see, there was a slide there that shows you that I literally work off maybe 5 days out of 365 days I'm working on my goals or planning them. So what that means is in January, I write out my yearly goals. I do quarterly check-ins. I do monthly check-ins. I plan out my week. I do a daily, mindset, like a daily mindset dump in the morning. And then I do like a recap at the end of the day as well. So find out an agenda or find out a way that you guys can check in with yourself, to whatever level you think is appropriate. For me, the more I check in, the more I'm on track. And I go by the saying, out of sight, out of mind. So if you haven't got your goals in sight, you've got to be thinking about, again, your default mode, or you've got to be going back to your comfort zone. So it's very logical in terms of, keep them in sight, write them down, write them in your phone, whatever it may be, because it's going to help. Something's happened there. In terms of, another thing is in terms of, for me, goal setting, it's been critical to sort of understand the feeling that you're chasing. So when we're setting goals, often we just sort of set a goal and we think, okay, this is the goal that I want to achieve. And once this happens, I'll feel happy then. I want you to get really in touch with, the feeling that you're chasing with the goal that you're setting. And what I mean by that is, essentially we want to get to a point where we're feeling that feeling every single day. And we want to understand ourselves better. It's like if you want to start a business, you want to make a lot of money. Why? What's the feeling that you're chasing? Is it respect? Is it autonomy? Is it freedom? So get really critical, really understand that feeling, because that's going to help you along the journey. And you've got to realize sometimes that you can have that feeling on a day-to-day basis. And that's helped me numerous occasions, because I'm chasing, respect. I'm chasing financial freedom. And just by knowing that, it's like, what do I need to do today to feel that feeling? How can I take one step forward? Another point is teamwork makes the dream work. Obviously, surrounding yourself with the right people is a game changer. Again, starting a business with not many people believing what you're doing can be always difficult. So having people around you that actually believe in what you're doing, and it's very logical. It's going to make it so much more easier when you're feeling down. You can sort of revert back to them and have them, pep you back up or get you back on track. Another thing to do is work off key milestones. So one of the key things that I work off is breaking my goals down into key milestones as well. So I've set that initial goal and then having key milestones in between. And the reason we do this is just to sort of help us build that momentum. Far too often you see people set goals in January, some big audacious goals, and they start off really well on their journey. They have a great January, and then all of a sudden they fall off the wagon because they don't have any, key milestones along the way. They've just got this big goal and they don't have any incremental goals there. And so they don't build that momentum quick enough, and they just think it's too hard. So any goal that you're setting, especially for health and fitness goals, I mean, if you want to lose a specific amount of kilos, if you want to, run a certain marathon or a kilometer race, break it down into incremental, key milestone goals. First step might be to lose 1 kilo. And once you get that self-belief, I can do that, you go to the next step, 3 kilos, 4 kilos, 5 kilos, and so forth. Again, very simple stuff that's helped me along the way. It's all about the 1%ers. I've never actually run this without this. So it's really annoying me that the computer's just literally, can everyone hear me? Thumbs up, yeah? I'm just, and apologies in advance, I'm just sort of running through it in terms of my head, what I'm running through. Look, another key component with your goal setting is to make a process-based goals, develop a good routine. And that's the key thing that's helped me along the way is having that goal setting, but also having that day-to-day routine that's going to help you, essential habits, to-do lists, using tools that are going to help you along the way. We hear it time and time again, people having to-do lists, writing things down. And it's key to sort of keeping you on top of your goals, because essentially you want to look at yourself as your own life coach. In a perfect world, everyone would have a personal trainer, everyone would have a life coach, but we have to take that responsibility ourselves. So for me, it's, the daily habits has been a game changer. So for me, it's like 3 daily habits that I work off to improve the business, to grow the business, to improve myself, and to make me feel better. Also, I use a progress journal basically, which means every morning I ask myself what the focus is for today. Then I run through my habits as another key reminder. I also work on what the key goal is for that day. So based off the big goal that you've set, you also want to consider, okay, I want to focus on, whether it be the health and fitness goal today as the key goal. And then it's like, what are 1 or 2 things that I can do to help me go take one step closer to that ultimate goal. So developing a really consistent time frame or consistent approach to it is essential. Okay, there we go. Nothing's happening. Still nothing happening. I'm going to take this computer back. Okay, so from my perspective, we've set goals that we're passionate about. From a self-awareness perspective, they relate to our values, our purpose. We've developed a strategy. So goal setting, I go through the principle of what, why, when, how, answering those key questions as a starting point. I also work off a key thing called the first three. So if you're talking to clients or you're talking to anyone and they're starting on their goal setting journey, ask them what are the first three things that we need to do and make it as simple as possible. Again, this is really about building momentum in the early stages. When I started a business, it's okay, we want to come up with a name. Number one, register that name. Number two, and number three, let's start looking for a web designer to help us set up that website. And just by doing those first three things, all of a sudden that momentum builds. And then it's like, okay, what are the next three things after that? So even in your day-to-day perspective, you're feeling overwhelmed, as we all are. Another trick is, the first three and the next three. So if you're feeling overwhelmed ever, consider what are my first three things I need to do, get those three things done, and then work off the next three. And these are just little tips and tricks that have helped me build the business and build myself from a very insecure, very anxious individual into, a business individual. Another component to consider, so we've done our action, we've gone through that. The last part I really want to consider is fulfillment. So from your perspective, obviously getting to good daily habits. We know that as personal trainers, as nutritionists, develop a routine. Right now I'm doing the cold showers in the morning. I'm doing the mindfulness practice, the breathing exercises. These are all these 1%ers that are helping me feel better and do better on a day-to-day basis. The last bit is about fulfillment. So from my perspective, the ultimate thing is you're setting goals that you're passionate about, you're working on them every day, but at the same time, you want to feel a sense of fulfillment and joy. So understanding, what brings you joy and fulfillment on a day-to-day perspective is the game changer for everyone. It's no point getting to the top of the hill, achieving all these amazing things, and then looking back and going, I didn't enjoy one bit of it. So finding out what brings you joy, for me, it's spending time with my family. For me, it's about seeing people grow in their business or, people emailing through their success stories or working on a project that brings me joy and happiness. So really getting clear on what those key things are. And again, it's a self-awareness perspective. So looking back, questioning yourself, what brings me joy and fulfillment, and do more of those things. Come from a place of love, give love, receive love. These simple things, smile more often. Do the things that matter to you most, focus on what's essential. And here's another thing in terms of that I want us to consider in your day-to-day practice. Really get clear on what's essential to your growth, personally, as a business. If you do one or two of those things per day, that's 365 things that you've done, positive things towards your growth. So just get into the habit. And there's another principle that really helps me along the journey, which has been, as opposed to all or nothing, it's always something. So having that approach of always something is going to help you, again, it's just the incremental changes every single day, the 1%ers. It's going to help you grow. So my always something is, I might be having a bad day. I can't get to the gym. Can I walk to the park with my kids? That's something from a health and fitness perspective. I'm having a shit day in terms of from a business perspective. Can I send one good email project or proposal? That's something. If you can take that approach into your day-to-day life with your goals that you've set, that's game over. Basically you've found, that you're going to keep growing and keep progressing in your life. This is, and apologies again, this has never happened to me before. So still nothing. Again, look, I'm going to probably open up to some questions if I can actually get you guys to ask some questions, because I think that's going to be better. I'm trying to go off the presentation, and right now my mind's gone absolutely blank. So in terms of any questions about goal setting, mindset, business as well, shoot them out there so then I can sort of get back to, I think from my perspective overall is keep it simple. Think about self-awareness, strategy, action, and fulfillment. those 4 key pillars, if you're filling those things up, you're developing a good routine, you've got goals that you're passionate about, you're finding joy and fulfillment in your day-to-day life. That's the ultimate thing that you can work off. It's not some formula, it's just basically work off these key things. So I'm going to shoot it out to you guys. Zach. Anyone?
Me?
Yeah.
Zach over there? Yeah. I was going to ask just like, so kind of maybe like 12 months ago, I was like a bricklayer, kind of living at home with mum and dad. But, you know, I remember you saying like, you kind of had your fuck it year and took the leap and all that. So I did that with PT, and then like, things are going great. Like it's everything I ever wanted to do and stuff. And like, it was really going well, like still is going great. But now it's kind of like, what did you do to like get to that next step? Because it feels like I'm really struggling to think of something to do for like the next part. Like, kind of feels like I ticked off wanting to be a PT, ticked off like getting out of home, ticked off leaving bricklaying and all that. And now it's kind of like, it's not like a lull feeling, but it's kind of like you want to go somewhere, like you want to do more now. But I don't know if you ever experienced that with your kind of thing. Yeah, so I kind of struggle with the mindset, as in like what's next kind of thing with goal setting, because it's kind of like what I've wanted to achieve in the last 12 months. I kind of almost like I've already done that kind of thing. So I want to do more now.
Here's the thing, right? For me, it's always been about having a compelling vision, right? Having something bigger. So I went through an exercise last year where I wrote 20 things that I want to do before I say goodbye to my goals. If it was, if I had to say goodbye, these are the last 20 things I need to get done. And there's some exciting things, right? It's like, launch a children's range, grow it into China, all these other cool things I want to collab with Kevin Hart or The Rock. So I think having that compelling vision, and then, for me, it's always been we've only scratched the surface. So from day one, it was like, okay, cool. Once I got that belief, it was like, shit, I've only scratched the surface. So there's so much more to do. So build out that vision, and then sort of, build out the bigger picture and then reverse engineer that. I think that's the ultimate thing. If you can sort of sit back and go, where do I see myself in 5-10 years? What does it look like? That should be exciting. Whatever it is for you. I mean, that's why each individual has to go through that practice. That should be exciting. That should give you enough to work off, as opposed to what it seems right now is it's like 12 months ahead. I've achieved that. Now what? Whereas I'd just be more proactive, do a little bit further than the 12 months, do 5 years, 10 years. Yeah. That can take a few weeks, man, but it's just, there's no right or wrong. It's no one's telling you have to do this. What do you see if you want to be in that personal training space? What else can you do with it? Who else can you partner with? What else, just dream big and give it a crack. Because I've been fortunate, like I said, in terms of the fortunate part that we had was there was only scratching the surface. Like there's so many more things that I want to do with this brand. So that's always kept me going. I've gone through shit times. There's been times financially, growth-wise, business partners leaving, all these challenges. But I've always had aces up my sleeve. If that makes sense. So you can have some aces up your sleeve. No, you don't have to tell anyone, but just make sure you've got enough there going, and they'll keep you going through the whole journey.
Yeah, beautiful, awesome. Cheers, mate. Thanks.
Anyone else?
Unless someone else has a question.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I just wanted to ask, how do you go about, I guess it's another mindset question, like growing past like limiting self-beliefs, because I know a lot of us, like when our friends tell us a goal, we're all for it. And we're like, yeah, of course you can do that. But then when we think about our own goals, we're like, oh, like, I don't know. And let's just like, you think about what could go wrong, as well as what could go right. Like, how do you overcome the what could go wrong thing?
Through action. Like the key answer is action. The more I get done, the more I build belief. So the more it's like cold calling, or let's think about sales, right? It's a numbers game. All this thing is a numbers game. You're going to get a lot of no's. You're going to get a lot of rejections. You're going to take steps back. But the more you do stuff, it's like this, this is stuffed up. I can't even do a presentation. But the more I do it, the more I build that self-confidence. And it's just like, move on. So just get into the habit of just doing more from an action perspective to build that belief. Get out of your comfort zone. So do some growth-based activities, if that makes sense. And what that means is getting out of your comfort zone. Do those activities where you go, oh, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. So That's what I'll recommend. Otherwise, we get into the habit of just doing like admin type work every single day for ourselves. Like I'm sure we all go through the process of like, we think we're busy, but we're just sort of ticking the boxes. So from a week to week perspective, or even a day-to-day perspective, adding some growth-based activities. So challenge yourself once a day, go, or once a week to start with, until you sort of build that confidence, and then you'll start to see the momentum building. It's like, okay, that wasn't as bad as I thought. And then, then you build from that. It's like, do it twice a day. So change the ratio a little bit, as opposed to just sort of floating and staying afloat. Do some stuff that's, got to get you out of that comfort zone every single day or every single week to start with. And then you'll see, okay, what's next? And that was literally it for us. It was like, okay, I'm scared to do some cold calls, but I've got to do it. So, I got into the habit of doing that, and I got a lot of no's, but then I got some yeses. And then that built to the next thing. So for me, if you want to build belief, it's about building momentum, which is only done through action, the right action. So just consider that. Give yourself a challenge. First week, what's the thing outside your comfort zone that you should be doing, and try to tackle that. And then the next week, try to do 2 of them and build from there.
Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else?
Can I add on that question as well? I'm definitely not like an expert in this area or anything, but I think maybe because I think I struggle a little bit with that as well, just feeling like stuck.
Yeah.
But do you reckon it's like tuning in to like your self-worth as well, and sort of trying to figure out why, why you're actually doubting yourself? And
like imposter syndrome, I've had that. Yeah, I mean, I still have that to this day. There's a movie called The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. So if anyone's seen that, that was basically that character. Basically, I looked at it and go, that's me. I've had all these dreams, but I had that very limiting self-belief, like an imposter syndrome. Even with what I'm doing now, we've got products around the globe, and business is doing quite well, but I still feel like a fraud. When I'm here, but it's just sort of again, questioning those things, having that self-awareness to stop there and go, why do I feel like this? Why am I talking? And then just understanding also, especially with COVID, understanding that life is short. Like going to that level and thinking, why am I so scared? Why am I so doubtful of myself? Like, I've got this one amazing chance on this earth to do something great. Just go out and do it. And it's got to be scary, but I'm going to work on techniques, whether it be breathing exercises, whether it be having a companion next to you to help you make those decisions. I'm going to work out tools and tricks to help me get through it. I still get nervous before every talk I do, before every presentation, but I'll do some breathing exercises. My slides aren't working today, but it's like, oh shit, what do I do now? And you just get through it, and you realize at the end of the day, no one cares. So you just got to get over that fear in yourself that people are going to care. They might say some stuff, but at the end of the day, who cares? It's about your fulfillment, your joy. And you don't want to get to a point in life at the end and you look back and go, I wish I did this. I wish I tried that. So you just got to sometimes, it sounds a little bit morbid, but sometimes you got to go to that level and go, why am I so scared? Like, one day I'm going to be, old and frail and lying down and going, I wish I gave that a crack. And that was a big driving point for me. I was 26 and I had all these ideas, books of ideas. I'm like, shit, come on, pepping myself up. And then finally I took the plunge, or I told someone about it. And I remember the biggest change for me was when I rang up one bookstore and they agreed to take some diaries, because then I had to make them. So put yourself in a situation where you sort of have to come through with the goods, if that's going to help. And just, it's daily practice, right? It's like, training. It's like everything takes time. Don't think it's going to happen overnight. It's going to be 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but over time you'll get better at things. And it's just, managing that. What do you do for a living? Are you a personal trainer, or is it?
I'm a dietitian.
Dietitian. It's like food, right? Being consistent in your approach. So work out the thing that you have to do and that's stopping you from doing it, and work out tools, test new things. What you've done now is great. The fact that you asked a question about it, that's something, you put yourself out of your comfort zone. So just acknowledge that. And again, do something tomorrow, and then the next day. And then hopefully, it slowly builds. And I tell people, you'll never probably get rid of that fear or that anxiety. Like if you're generally an anxious person, it won't just ever go away, but you learn to manage it a lot better. And that's just been my journey. And it's just sort of giving into it and trying, it's like just acknowledging that you'll never get rid of it, and just going, but I'm going to manage this a lot better. and it's not going to crumble me. So again, trial and error. Pick up little different things, test yourself, and just sort of build that momentum. That's the only way we can sort of do it. And realize it won't happen overnight. Nothing, life's not just automatically just change like that overnight for you. It's going to take time in most cases.
I'm just going to add to that sort of as well. I think like not believing in yourself is obviously like a massive barrier for a lot of people, but maybe trying to make something too perfect and not starting because it's not like ready to go yet. So I like how you say just take like little steps at a time.
Use the phrase I said, all or nothing, as opposed to, everyone's got that all or nothing approach. They want to be perfect. You see it always at the gym, right? Someone that hasn't trained for years goes there, does 7 days the first week, and then they, do that for a few weeks and then they just fall off the wagon. Whereas always something is about, that approach of like, what, I'm going to do something every single day, whether it be for 5 minutes, whether it be for an hour when I feel good. And that accumulates. It's like compound interest, right? Every single day, every single year, that grows and grows. So I think you have to find your own little trigger point that's going to help you. So work out what that trigger is, whether it be a saying, whether it be, a quote or a person that's going to help you, and just keep reverting back to that, because that helps.
And I think like at the end of the day, nothing's ever perfect. And as soon as you try and actually make it perfect, then you like identify all the wrong things. And then that then affects like your self-worth. And almost like a...
Well, think about nothing's perfect. And think about what you want to do, right? Like when I started, I had the family, the mortgage. I had all these responsibilities. So if you, I don't know what everyone's situation is, but if you're out there and you've got less responsibility and you're afraid to try something, my recommendation is go out there and just do it. You know what I mean? Like I can tell you from experience when you have to put food on the table for a newborn, and you've got a mortgage to pay and you've got this dream that no one believes in. It's tough. I had my wife and this going, is this ever going to work? Are we wasting our time? You're creating a diary, for goodness sake, which you can only sell for 6 months out of the year. But I had this belief, I had that compelling vision of what it could be. And that's what kept me going. It was just daily practices of, okay, this didn't work. What else can I do? So you've got to be your own life coach. You've got to be your own guinea pig. And it takes consistency and it takes effort. And once you acknowledge that, then it's just up to you. If it is to be, it's up to you, right? There's no one else that you can blame. It's like, this starts with me. And having that self-awareness helps you make those better decisions. At least you're thinking about it.
Can I ask?
I was going to... Oh, sorry, Ethan.
That's all right. Do you want to go, Sharon? I'll go after you.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I can wait.
Sorry, I was just going to say, just when you voice your goals to a friend or your partner, and sometimes when you communicate it, then you feel like you put it out there and it's like, oh, there we go. And having that written down or someone actually discussing it with you sometimes can make it a little bit easier in your mind as well. So when you're fearful or, worried about things and or a certain goal, then you can actually, speak to someone and it actually sometimes it seems clearer.
Yeah, finding the right people to speak to, right? Having those people that tell you it's a good idea or it can work.
Yeah.
100%. And these are all these things that we sort of know ourselves. Like we know when you've got supportive people around you and they tell you it's a good idea, you feel that as, that dopamine, you feel those, chemicals rush through and go, you know what, I'm actually on the right track. And I think there's a study done that dopamine is released when you know you're on the right track from a progress perspective. So Anthony Robbins talks about progress equals happiness. So when you know you've had a good day and you've made progress, you've ticked off a few boxes, you feel that dopamine rush. So if you get into the habit of understanding what did you do, who were, just you've got to investigate these things, right? And then you do more of that. So you become essentially your own life coach. In a perfect world, if you had someone knock on your door in the morning and say, hi, Sharon, what are you doing today to help you go towards that goal? What do you need to do? And you'd be like, oh, okay, I need to do 1, 2, and 3. Okay, let's do the first thing, tick that off. Let's go to the next thing. How do you feel? Feel great. What else can we do tomorrow? So you're going to do that for yourself, unless you've got someone around you. That's the starting point for me. It's like, that's why I use products. I write it down, I go through it, and I'm like, shit, this is really fearful, I'm scared, but all right, just get that through, cross it out, I feel better, dopamine rush, go to the next thing. And it's just the process. And it's funny how things, when you look back, it's like, you know, it started like this, but look at the growth I've made. I haven't hit many goals, but look how far I've come. You know what I mean? So sometimes we get caught up in trying to be perfect, as you mentioned, and we try to hit all our goals and we're a failure if we don't, whereas we don't realize it's about the progress and the growth you have. It's like a share market. Remember the share market? A good share market price goes up, goes down, goes up, but the trajectory is up. So if you think about that for your life, there's going to be times when it's bad and it's hard, but what can you do to get out of it? When it's good, use the momentum, keep running with it. And goals is just a tool just to give you guidance. That's it. But it improves your odds. So I'll rather put my money on someone that sets goals, has a vision, as opposed to someone that's just hoping that things will get better. So I use the word hope is not a strategy. So if hope is your strategy to get ahead, hope is a nice thing. If it's your strategy, it's not going to end well. So just keep it really logical, have direction, because we're inundated with information, right? There's so many thoughts, so many ways we can head. Focus on one or two key things that you're passionate about and keep chipping away at it every single day. And then, you know, enjoy the process as well. Enjoy the stage of life that you're in. I was talking to someone, you know, I look back and I enjoy the stages when I was in the garage packing orders with friends. I enjoy the stage of being in our first warehouse. Last year I had my daughter packing. Like, we got so busy that my daughter was, you know, who's 9 years old, came to the office and she was helping us pack. And I look back and I was like, some of the best few months. So, you know, acknowledging that, being really self-aware and present in those moments is going to help.
Adam, the My Goals diary itself, right? Obviously, there would have been a ton of thought that went into that. Is there anything you can share about the process of when you were creating that, such as the routine and how you structured the diary itself?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I created the product because I couldn't find a product. I created it for myself to set other goals. So that was the initial thing. So if you think about it, I'll write my goals. I used to write my goals down on scrap piece of paper, on different notebooks. And then I got to a point, it's like, I lose the scrap piece of paper. It's only one line and there wasn't enough detail. So for me, it was like, what are the key things that help me think about the goal? What are the key things that help me break it down better, as opposed to just saying, I want to get fit in 2021. You know, then I got to the, you know, obviously doing a little bit of research. It's like, why is essential? You know, why are you doing what you're doing? And if you don't have a compelling why, once you get up to obstacles, you'll probably end up giving up. So I made sure that why was that first question. You know, what is it? Why do you want to do it? How? And then having a to-do list, right? Understanding, all right, these are some key things. If I can get these ticked off, I can start building that momentum and habits. Having a sense of some reward at the end of the day, you know, is always something that can drive someone to achieve that goal. So just breaking it down, not overcomplicating it. See, I was a big fan of Tony Robbins and I'd see his books and it was just too much. So I wanted to create something that anyone that's, you know, whether you've set goals or you've never set goals, was just made sense. It's sort of, you know, the structure of it was like, okay, that makes sense. I can do that. It's not asking me 20 questions a day. It's asking me a few key questions to prime myself to feel better, to get into that zone. And then you work off that. And then you get excited about feeling it in, right? Like the dopamine is there when you cross things off and you tick off your habits. But for me, game changer has been habits as well. You know, just getting, you know, I've got fast 7 p.m. to 11 a.m., Apple rings, breathe plus cold, better myself 30 minutes, family time, POS plus massage, golf practice. Those are habits I work off every day, like incremental better in these key things that I'm passionate about. And I just see, you know, the dots get, you know, colored in, which is nice. So, and then just, yeah, like, you know, I listen to stuff, but that's the process of the goals hasn't changed much from day one. What you see in terms of the structure was, how do I create little trigger points on a week-to-week basis or a day-to-day basis that might get someone into the right frame of mind to do the right things. Whereas I didn't want people to get scared and go too hard. You know what I mean? Because I'm a user myself and I've used products that are too hard and it just goes, nah, too hard. This is like, I can manage that. And then it becomes addictive and then, you know.
Yeah, awesome, man. I've actually been journaling for 4 years and I've used your stuff, but it's awesome. So anyone who hasn't actually got it, or at least doing some type of journaling on a daily basis, it'll honestly change your life.
And that's the thing, even like it's for everyone, it's about you finding out the tools that work for you. It might be journaling, you know, doing a brain dump of your thoughts and how you're feeling. It might be like a quick, questionnaire in the morning. It might be a diary. It might be an app on your phone, but finding the tools for success that work for you, it's different for everyone. You know what I mean? So just be critical of that. Like try new things, see what works. You might chop and change a few things. I chop and change throughout our products. I use the diary. Then throughout the year, if I get a little bit stuck, I use the progress journal, which is daily. So that means I have to, I've got that coach next to me day in, day out. So, but try new things. That's the key, right? That's the only way we're going to test and get better.
Awesome.
How do we get it?
I'll post the link in this at the end, guys. Surely Adam's going to throw a more awesome discount code for all of the Get Going crew.
I would. I'll get the presentation up. I was like, shit, that's never happened to me in a mob. You know the stuff, but when you go through it and you see the presentation stuff, things like my mind just goes, fuck, I don't know what part I'm up to. Because you're trying to think about the thing that
Awesome. Well, we might leave one last question if anyone's got it, and then we'll finish up. And I'll get Adam. You can send me all that stuff, and I'll post it in our work group later. Does anyone have one final question?
G'day, Adam.
Go Ben.
Yeah, so I pretty much started journaling as well, more to help with, I suppose, mental health. So I guess kind of the things that I would write down were things to do today, and then I would keep it like really basic, whether it is workout, shave my face or whatever it is. Then it'd be like 3 things to be grateful for, a self-care, something to restrict or limit, a quote to stand by. So it'd just be like a general quote, and then a positive message, and then I guess a healthy tip for the day. I guess it kind of helped and it kind of didn't. So more, what would be an idea on, I guess, how to make better goals for myself, I suppose, to help with mental health. Because again, some days it would help, and then other days I would kind of get nowhere with it.
I think the big, really getting the bigger picture sorted, having a big, the bigger end goal, like the vision, you know what I mean? That North Star that you're aiming for. Because you can get into habits, you can do these things day in, day out, but if you're doing it for no particular reason, if there's no compelling reason or a bigger, goal at the end of the day, you sometimes go, what's the point? You know what I mean? Like, it's like COVID lockdowns. It's like, what am I training for if I'm going to be in lockdown for 5-6 months? But having something at the end of it that, thinking long term and thinking, okay, what are the benefits? What's the goal at the end of the tunnel? So I'll go long term from your perspective. Because when I feel like giving up, I think about the long term and the stuff that I still haven't ticked off. And I think, shit, that excites me. So having that compelling vision of that long term and working towards something that excites you, it's like common sense, you know what I mean? It's like, that gives me focus, that gives me direction, and also acknowledging the fact that there's going to be times when you feel down. Like from a mental health perspective, I've always thought about this. I've gone through times where, from a business sense, and man, it's easy to sort of, you know what I mean? Everyone has their struggles, you know what I mean? We all have our struggles, and just being proactive and testing new things is the only way that most of us are going to get through it. There's obviously the cases that are really bad at the top that, that need medical help and so forth. But for most of us, it's just sort of having a proactive approach and looking at the bigger picture and going, okay, I feel, down because I don't have anything that I'm sort of, it feels pointless. There's no purpose here. I'm doing all these cool things. I feel like I'm making progress towards what, but so just thinking a little bit beyond, having kids and family, that's another thing why I'm doing the things I'm doing. Doing it for my own self-belief is another thing. So I've got multiple reasons and multiple purposes that I'm doing that keep me going. So I would feel that the bigger picture if I was you from your end. What you're doing is amazing, you know what I mean? You're doing amazing in terms of the short term, but just think about the long term.
Yeah, awesome.
And that should give you like the perspective to go, I'm on the right track. This is, at the end of the day, this is what I'm doing. And then try find joy and fulfillment in the day in, day out. You know what I mean? Maybe put a line in there where it's like, what's something that I'm looking forward to tomorrow? LFT, I'll call it, look forward to tomorrow. And then just write a list, you know what I mean? Or coffee catch up with a mate, do this, whatever. So have something to look forward to every single day.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for that.
Cool.
All right, awesome, guys. Let's give Adam a virtual round of applause. Yeah, we can only hear me clap. But
it was bad. I know, I'm sorry. He's got one clap.
I know, that's right. This has been awesome, Adam. I've personally really thank you so much for this. There's been so many one-liners that I've had to write down in my own little diary. So I'll make sure we post this link, and if you can send me those recordings, and yeah, thanks again.
No, thank you so much, guys, and apologies for the presentation, but hopefully, again, I'm not an expert. I'm just someone that's on my own little journey, and I'm trying to work it out myself. So, and I've found that these things help. So those 4 pillars, work on them and just have fun as well.
Awesome.
I was just going to say, Zoe, we can contact you.
Yeah, on the present, I'll send through the presentation to Ethan, which has LinkedIn, has email address at the back as well. So by all means, shoot some questions through or whatever it may be. And I'll send through a discount code as well, Ethan.
Ooh, all right, nice. So, I was actually just in the cart adding it, and then I was like, I'm not asking for a discount. So always a hustler,
Always ask. If you don't ask, you don't get, right? And these are the simple things, right? They say it for a reason. So enjoy, guys.
All right, thanks, guys.
My computer's still not working.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Right. See you guys.
Thanks.